Every martial art has a slightly different fighting stance, sometimes widely different. Some are more practical, some are less practical. My favorite, however, is one that kind of came somewhere between Muay Thai and Jeet Kune Do, and it looks something like this. So to make my fighting stance, I'm going to start completely sideways to my target. I want to be somewhat sideways to move my solar plexus and groin out of the line of attack. But if I do this, I can't use my rear hand. So I'm going to take my back foot, step about 1 foot length, and exactly how much that is going to vary based on your proportions. So everybody's stance is going to be slightly different. And then I'm going to pivot so both feet are at least slightly forward. And I like my stance being just a little bit pigeon-toed, so I have a little bit more stability than I would with parallel feet. But I never want my back foot to point backwards. My back toes always point at least slightly forward. So that's the foot positioning. The width is stable enough. The width is wide enough that it's stable, but not so wide that it's slow. So there's giant karate stances that are basically just make your front stance as big as humanly possible. But I want my stance to be just big enough that I can shift my weight suddenly back and forth without tipping over my feet. And right at the smallest size I can do that, that's how big I want my stance. So then I can still kick, I can punch, I can grapple to some degree, though I'll probably change my stance a little bit for stability there. And it looks something like this. Okay, now my weight distribution is somewhere even between both feet to about 60-40. You don't want to have too much more forward than that, because then your back foot comes up too much and it gets harder to move. So my weight is either even or slightly forward. My heels are a little bit off the ground. Usually my back foot, especially if my weight is forward, my back heel is going to be a little bit more off the ground. And my front heel is just lightly on the ground or just lightly off the ground. So maybe a sheet of paper height off the ground, so I'm not flat-footed. My knees are always slightly bent. I never want to lock out, but I don't want them too bent, just safely a little bit bent. I'm going to have a straight posture most of the time. So hips are tucked under, shoulders pulled back, head lifted up. Then hand position, generally my main thing I need to protect is my head. So I have my hands up, not so much that they're blocking my vision, but enough that they can protect my head quickly. And I can still drop on my arms or drop down so they're protecting my sides. So somewhere around here, your hands might be further or closer, and it's going to change, your stance is going to change slightly based on how close they are. As they get closer, you might get a little bit wider, protect your hands more. If they get further away, you might shift more towards Taekwondo stance, especially if you know Taekwondo, you're going to be doing kicks, but generally somewhere around here, fighting stance.